Let's go Dolphins! The clock is ticking in Miami, and this could be the most decisive season in years. The front office is under pressure, the roster is full of question marks, and rumors of a potential rebuild are growing louder. Is this the last chance for Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa to prove they can lead the team to the Super Bowl, or are we about to watch this core collapse before our very eyes? Something big is brewing, and fans can feel it. I'll tell you everything I know, but before we move on, make sure you smash that like button if you've been a Dolphins fan for more than 20 years. It's great to see fans of all ages supporting this team, and if you truly bleed aqua and orange, drop a comment that says, "Go Dolphins!" My heart bleeds aqua and orange. Now, let's get straight to it because things are messy in Miami. National media is calling the Dolphins the most puzzling team in the NFL heading into 2025, and honestly, it's hard to argue with them. Training camp kicks off next week, and yet, there's no clear identity for this team. There are glaring questions at crucial positions, and the front office seems to be operating as if this is a reset year rather than an all-in push for a championship. Tyreek Hill, the engine of this offense, is coming off his least productive season since his rookie year. That alone should send shivers down every fan's spine. But what's worse, there are actual discussions, yes, serious ones, about whether the team should consider trading him for a first-round pick if the opportunity arises. And you know what? That tells you everything about where this organization is mentally right now. If trading Tyreek even enters the conversation, it means there are doubts about whether this current core can get the job done. And let's not even start with the defense. Jalen Ramsey is gone, Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips can't stay healthy, and Terron Armstead has retired, leaving the left tackle position in the hands of Patrick Paul, who has everything to prove. Think about that for a second. A team supposedly chasing a Super Bowl is betting its quarterback's blindside protection on a second-year second-round pick. Meanwhile, Chris Grier has been in charge for 9 years and still doesn't have a long-term solution at left tackle, a consistent number one corner, or even an established defensive identity. This is unacceptable. Mike McDaniel might be a brilliant play caller, but how can he run his offense effectively if the front office keeps failing him with half measures and roster building? Speaking of McDaniel, there's no denying he's under the microscope too. Some in the national media continue to defend him as a great head coach, but let's be real here, his record against .500 or better teams doesn't scream elite coaching. And if he doesn't figure out how to win meaningful games down the stretch, his job could be in jeopardy, especially if Stephen Ross really is putting both McDaniel and Grier in a prove-it-or-you're-fired situation this season. The problem is Ross has tied one hand behind their backs by reportedly closing the bank. No big spending sprees, no significant roster upgrades. They have to make do with what they have, and if it doesn't work, Ross is ready to clean house. But if that's the plan, why even give them another year? It's classic Ross indecisiveness, and it's driving fans crazy. Then there's Tua Tagovailoa. Love him or hate him, he's the quarterback for 2025, no matter what anyone wants. But here's the ugly truth. His future beyond this season is a massive question mark. The Dolphins had every opportunity to restructure his deal to clear $19 million in cap space, but they didn't do it. That speaks volumes. The organization doesn't want to be locked into Tua for 2026 if his health fails him again. And honestly, they're right to be cautious. If Tua misses significant time this season, even if he plays lights out when healthy, it might be time to move on. Availability is everything in this league, and you can't build a championship team around a quarterback who can't stay on the field. And here's where things get even more interesting. The Dolphins are in a position where, if things fall apart this season, they can blow it all up in 2026 and walk away with $75 million in cap space. Trading Tua, cutting Tyreek, moving on from Chubb, and letting veterans walk could reset this franchise completely. The young core, Jalen Waddle, Chop Robinson, Kenneth Grant, Patrick Paul, Devon Achane, and Malik Washington would be the foundation for a full rebuild. But do we really want to go back to rebuilding again? That's the nightmare scenario, and it feels like we're teetering on the edge of it. The truth is, the more you dig into this situation, the more you realize how fragile everything feels for the Miami Dolphins right now. Training camp is around the corner, and instead of excitement about a Super Bowl push, there's a cloud of uncertainty hanging over this team. The national media isn't wrong when they call the Dolphins the most puzzling team in the NFL. There are too many unanswered questions, and the organization itself seems unsure of its own direction. Are they contenders trying to win now, or are they slowly positioning themselves for a soft rebuild? Because if you look at the moves, or the lack of them, it feels like they're caught somewhere in between. Mike McDaniel is entering what might be the most critical year of his coaching career. His system works when it clicks, and nobody doubts his creativity as a play caller, but questions about whether he can lead a team through adversity are louder than ever. His record against good teams speaks for itself, and the meltdown at the end of last season is still fresh in everyone's mind. Going from a legitimate shot at the number 1 seed to finishing the season 8-9 was a brutal collapse, and it exposed a lot of cracks in this roster. A real Super Bowl caliber team doesn't implode like that when the pressure mounts. Now McDaniel has to prove he's more than just a fun offensive mind. He has to show he can win big games, manage a roster with holes, and lead this team deep into the playoffs. If he can't, Stephen Ross might decide he's not the right guy to lead the Dolphins into the future. And speaking of the future, the decisions this team makes over the next few months will define the next 5 years of Dolphins football. If they compete and make a deep playoff run, the core stays together, and maybe Chris Greer saves his job for yet another year. But if this team struggles, expect a complete teardown. The cap situation makes it clear Miami can clean house quickly. Moving on from veterans like Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, and even Tua would create the financial flexibility to rebuild around younger players. That's the terrifying part. We could be looking at a completely different Dolphins roster by 2026 if things go wrong this season. And let's talk about Tua again because, like it or not, everything comes back to him. He's the centerpiece of this entire puzzle, and his future determines what this franchise does next. The Dolphins are clearly hedging their bets by not restructuring his deal, which tells you they're not fully committed to him long term. They want to see him stay healthy for an entire season before making any more financial commitments. But the risk is enormous. If Tua gets hurt again, this whole conversation changes instantly. No matter how well he plays when he's on the field, if he can't stay on it, the Dolphins can't move forward with him as the long-term answer. It's as simple as that. Then there's the roster around him. Tyreek Hill is still a game changer, but can he maintain his elite production, or are we already seeing the start of his decline? Losing Jalen Ramsey hurts, especially with so many question marks in the secondary. Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips are talented but unreliable because of injuries. Terron Armstead's retirement leaves a massive hole at left tackle, and Patrick Paul is far from a sure thing. These are not small concerns. These are issues that could sink the season if they aren't addressed quickly. The young core gives some hope. Jalen Waddle, Chop Robinson, Kenneth Grant, and Devon Achane are all pieces you can build around. And if they take big steps forward this year, maybe that's enough to keep the Dolphins competitive. But relying on youth while also trying to contend for a Super Bowl is a dangerous balancing act, and this team doesn't have much margin for error. So here we are, Dolphins fans, staring at one of the most important seasons in recent franchise history. This is either the year Miami proves it can be a true contender, or it's the beginning of another rebuild. There's no middle ground anymore. What do you think? Is this the year the Dolphins finally put it all together and make a real Super Bowl run? Or are we witnessing the last ride for this version of the team before everything gets blown up? Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you all in on this roster? Or is it time to start planning for a new era in Miami?